Well, thank you so much for meeting me. So, welcome to our podcast. This is going to be a fun little new experiment that we're going to do with a podcast in 2025 leading into 2026. And so, my husband's all excited. He's getting all of the different tools and he wants to do something. So, we're going to talk once a week here with him. And then, but I really told him, I says, the goal of this podcast is really to sit down and have conversations with moms who've kind of been in the thick of it, right? And who have been finding holistic tools to help their families. And so there's really this component that I wanted to incorporate, and I'm going to call it Series of Hope, because I think that we have hope when we hear other people's experiences, right? So HOPE. So something about hearing other people's experiences that can really shift how we approach things. So joining for the first time for the first conversation is Katy, a creator behind All the Things Little Bit. So that's her little one. She'll tell us a little bit more about where she shares the real, raw, unpolished side of raising a neurodivergent kiddo while rebuilding her own nervous system along the way. So she's a mom who's lived the 2 a.m. wake ups, all too familiar, the meltdowns, the running through the parking lot like it's an Olympics era, and came out the other side by learning how much the gut, the brain, and regulation actually matter. What started as desperation for her daughter's sleep turned into a full-blown mission. Now Katy helps other moms understand the deeper why behind behavior, mood, sleep, and regulation, and the simple, natural daily tools that changed everything for her family. She also shares about her own journey through trauma, postpartum depression, and stress recovery, because moms deserve support too, not just the kids. Her heart to make overwhelmed moms feel seen, less alone, and wildly empowered with solutions that actually move the needle. I love that. So I love it. So welcome, Katy. I'm so excited to jump into this conversation with you. I think so much of our stories really align and really overlap. So I would love to just open it up and tell me, how old, first of all, is Little Bit?
She is 5. So we actually got started on this journey when she was 3. So she was diagnosed with autism a month before her 3rd birthday. And then a month after her 3rd birthday, she decided she wasn't sleeping anymore. She just stopped. It was night and day. She decided that going to bed was fine. She stuck with her same routine. She would go to bed every night, but 2 a.m. for 6 months, we were awake and I was exhausted. It is, if you've ever, I know you've been there, but for a parent that has never been there and they're like, oh, I'll say you were tired. No, it's another level above that for sure. So honestly, I started a social media that fall. I had never done social media before, and I wanted to actually do a blog because I wanted to share our journey and I wanted to get it out to people. And then I'm like, oh, well, I've got to have a way to get this blog out. So I started social media. Well, then I started sharing just like funny reels or whatever on TikTok and Instagram about tell me your kid's not sleeping without telling me your kid, just silly stuff like that at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm delirious. She's running around in rain boots, whatever.
You feed them, join them, right?
That's right.
Like, let's throw it all in there, yeah.
So then I had a mom reach out to me and she was like, because I was desperate for something to help me. She's not going to sleep. I felt like at that point that I had tried everything, right? I had tried tart cherry juice. I had tried melatonin. The only thing I hadn't done is go to a doctor, but I did not want to put her on medication. That was I'm not doing that unless obviously there's a line there, right? In the holistic world, if you have to. And I would never tell someone not to take a medication, but we wanted to avoid it at all costs. So I was like, I've tried everything for her. So maybe I just need to figure out how I can survive on 4 hours of sleep a day. Because if she can do it, I can do it, right? So I had a mom reach out to me and she was like, as much as I want to help you and I have this drink called Happy Juice that I think would really help you, I think we need to focus on your daughter first. And I think that we can get her started on these supplements and that she can actually get rest and then you can get rest and then we can talk about your mental wellness after that. And I'm like, so I told my husband and we were completely skeptical. We were like, we've tried everything else. This is not going to work. And it was just one of those months, right? We did not have the extra money to spend. We had a vacation that month, so you were spent out. I took the last of what we had for the month. And I'm like, I'm buying it. And if it doesn't work, there's a 90-day money back guarantee. I'll send it back, but I'm buying it because we've got to get her some sleep. And that was the end of January. So we started her on the 10th of February and the 12th, she slept through the all night for the first time before she was 3.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh,
And
wow.
did you start with happy juice for her?
So it
Yeah.
was kids, calm,
Yep.
fundamentals, and mood, and the vitamin.
Yep. Okay.
And I got rid of everything else. We
Yeah.
were on the Zarbee's
Yep.
melatonin. We were on the this and that. I got rid of her multivitamins. I did everything. I was like, if I'm doing it, I'm going all in because I want to see if it actually works.
Yep. Yep.
And so we got rid of everything, started her on the kids pack at the time.
Yeah.
So there was no nootropics or anything in the fundamentals. So 2 days she slept through the night. And at that point, she was only doing one gummy. Now she does do two gummies, but she was a little younger than the age at that time. And I also just wanted to make sure that everything would go okay. And the rest that she gets, though, is so crazy, right? She actually, like, her body rests and she wakes up awake, ready to go instead of still being a zombie, still being upset and moody and having meltdowns. And so we really started getting more of the cognitive function side of it after the real Happy Juice came out. And after 10 days of drinking the fundamentals and having the multivitamin and the kids' mood, she actually talked for the first time.
Yeah.
She was completely nonverbal from the time she talked she had some words like some mama, dada, but then when she was 12 months, all that stopped.
Oh, wow.
And so she hadn't talked at all since she was 12 months old. And then I was dropping her off at school and she said, "Bye, mama, love you."
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow. How did you react to that? Were you stunned or
I
just
was stunned. Me and her
yeah,
teachers just stood there and looked at each other.
like where?
And because I was just, what just happened? And I got in the car and I voice memoed my friend Teresa and my friend Jen on a group message because they're the ones that helped me get started with all the
Shared.
products with her.
Yeah.
And I'm crying, they're
Yeah.
crying. Jen's
Yeah.
screen recording the conversation so she can remember it. I've got it still on my phone. And that was a moment for me. And then it was like 4 or 5 days later. I was at pickup and this other little girl's grandfather that she lived with, he said, "What have you changed?" Because she is just going into school good, coming out of school good, not having meltdowns. Because I would have to carry her
Yep.
because otherwise she would run. She would just
Mm.
have a complete meltdown, not even necessarily because she didn't want to be at school. It was just the overwhelming part
Yep.
of it. And I feel like that any neurodivergent mom knows that. They get that.
100%.
Yeah.
We all know the
So
flight
it's,
risk or
yeah.
calling your kid over the shoulder, right? Yeah, we've all been there, done that.
And so it was one of those, I knew that it wasn't school. I knew that she had
Yeah.
fun at school.
Yeah.
It was just the getting her there and getting her back. So anyway, he was like, "What are you doing? What did you change?" And so I was like, "Well, she's sleeping, first of all." And that was what I told everybody to begin with. I didn't think that anything was changing in her brain and in her body. I thought, well, she's sleeping, so everything's better.
Right.
But then the more that I really like noticed, no, there's more going on here. So then everybody started asking me, "What are you doing? How are you doing this?" So 5 of the parents from pick up and drop off are like, "Send me the link. I need this for my kid."
Yeah.
And then we were just invested and completely all in. Her teachers all use the products. All the parents use the products because they've seen such a difference in her.
That's amazing. It's such an amazing story. And it almost makes me jealous, right? Because we didn't discover it until later. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was this whole understanding that, boy, if we had started here, I could envision a whole different life for us. And I'm happy with the life that we have now. So no doubts. But we left school. We just got to the point where my daughter was a flight risk and we couldn't do it. We're trying to put a round peg in a square hole thing, and it was like, how much energy can I do to do that? So we ended up homeschooling, and I'm a physician assistant by trade. I left my medical practice. I was like, gosh, if I had these tools earlier, would I have left my medical practice? Would I have been able to hang in there personally myself and not be in burnout? With my kids, they have been able to adapt to more of a school system. So many what ifs that happen just because we've had such a similar story of just a drastic shift. And so my daughter was never nonverbal. We had always suspected autism. And I want to just put a blanket disclaimer out for everybody who's watching too, just because, of course, with the supplements that we're talking about, how they support our bodies. So none of the statements that we're making have been supported by the Food and Drug Administration. Chances are, if you put 100% in the FDA, this is probably not for you, but none of this has been evaluated by them. And then, of course, our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But from physician
Just share
assistant
our story.
standpoint, and I was the same skeptic, especially from a medical standpoint. I've been trained medically. We had done all of the mental health stuff. We were, same with you, we were trying to avoid meds as long as possible. So I remember going into the therapist one time and being like, my whole house smells like lavender. I don't know. We were doing all the things. We did essential oils, we did OT, PT. I drove halfway across the state to do dialectical behavioral therapy, which sunk us into debt. We were doing all of these things. And as you probably know, as a special needs mom, sometimes you'd make this little headway and you'd be like, oh my gosh, is this working? And then
And
all of
then
a sudden it would flop back, right? And that's why I actually didn't even share these products for the first year, because I was like, it's just going to be a fluke. It's going to be like everything else where we get these little and we're like, oh my gosh, this is working. And then all of a sudden you just go so far back that you're in a whiplash or a tailspin. So my daughter was not nonverbal, but she struggled with verbalization, and she was the angry kid, right? And it's really hard. And I think a lot of moms who are autism moms understand this, because their kids can get violent. And it is really hard to console a kid who is hitting you, smacking you. And so your nervous system is 100%. Right, exactly. And you're trying to be the calm in the chaos. And I remember so many people say, bring your calm in the chaos. It's like, what calm? I have no more calm anymore. My calm meter is gone. And so when we had started the supplements, she was about 13 years old, I think. 13 years old. And I'll tell a little bit more about that story in a bit. But within a week we saw, and we actually had only started them because they were probiotics to help with the bloating, because she was on some meds. We eventually had started meds, and that was a big cluster, and it helped with her bloating. But then my husband was reflecting the other day, and he said, gosh, fall 2023 was just different because my daughter was able to communicate better. She was using her words. We would always say, use your words. And she couldn't for the longest time. And we saw that shift happen, and to have my husband notice it. So that's what, when you were saying other people were noticing, because I think we're so tuned in, right? It's almost that other layer of exhaustion where we're so tuned in. But when somebody else is seeing it and somebody else is describing that, you're just like, oh my goodness, aha moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even my husband, it's the same, like you said, when he started seeing it, obviously the sleep thing was, that's something you can measure, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
the other things that you see that you're like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Or am I just thinking that it's happening?
Yes.
Or is it really happening? And then somebody else sees it and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
and that's on it. And I should share this more now that I'm getting ready to say it, but in that first 6 weeks, she was putting puzzles together. She would sit and actually put puzzles together. Now, I always knew she could do it.
Yeah.
It was never a matter of,
Yeah.
is she smart enough to do these puzzles?
Yeah.
But she would actually sit there and do the puzzles. And I'm like, wow. And then we were talking about how they changed it from fundamentals to the kids happy juice, and the differences being the fundamentals was more just your probiotics, phytobiotics, your mentobiotics portion of it. But then when we started her on the kids happy juice, her words went from random love you buys, random red, random blue to sentences, right? And I'll never forget. So we started September of 24. So we started everything in February of 24. September of 24, we started the kids happy juice. And it was about the first to mid of October. And I was sitting at the table with her trying to get her to color, because she'd never wanted to sit and just do something. And it was like, oh, let me bribe you, right? We've all bribed our kids. Oh, you will color for X amount of minutes, then we'll do this, or then you can have iPad, or then you can do this. And I'm an iPad autism mom. There's all different kinds, right? And I feel like there's a lot of people that have kids that are like my daughter's age that are like, oh no, iPads are bad. That's what's wrong with them. No, she's learned more off that iPad than I could have ever taught her.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it's a hard thing, neurodivergent. You know what I mean? And that becomes a really challenge too, when you have to really understand that there's a different set of parenting rules, right? And that's hard to come across, because you do feel judged, right? You do feel that people are looking at you. You just have to understand that you have to dig your heels in, and like, you get to parent the situation, your family differently, and you have to be able to cast aside a lot of those other opinions. And that's right.